So, got Tiny Gregory here. I'm about to start the pen part of this pen project. Got my little reference here from a couple days ago, I think yesterday maybe. Really nervous I'm gonna mess this up. Let's hope that it's already shaking. This is gonna be really bad. That's my face right here. We'll see how this goes. I'm nervous. I hope you can see. Also, yeah. Okay, I'm doing the voice thing because it's easier than doing music search and citing all of them. Also, now I won't get copyright claimed like I am with everything. So right now I'm just doing the clouds. I decided to start with this because I was really scared of what to start with, because this is going to be my final project, not for the school year, but just for this homework assignment, and I wanted it to look nice. And so I'm working on the castle now and getting down all the things, and I'm quite unhappy with the way that these are turning out. At this point, I'm like, oh no, all these lines are not straight, and they're very curved, and they don't look good. I think the end product looks pretty decent. There's definitely more to it, and I think I could have made some things cleaner. But I think for the amount of time I worked on it, and the different ways that I worked on this, because I don't tend to do pen drawings. I really like pen drawings, but I don't tend to do that very often. So I think for what I did, I think it looks decent. Little update before we get too far in. If you don't like this sort of thing, these like in-person drawings and stuff, I'll still probably continue to do them, but I do want to get more into the animatics again, and I'm currently working on one, although I haven't had a lot of time recently. So I'm getting to it. I want to do more animatics than speed paints this year, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, enough with the update, back to the drawing. For these two castles, I wanted them to have some similarities, but I really wanted their architecture to be kind of contrasting, and I think I kind of do that, but there's definitely some similarities. Every time I try to drink carbonated water, I always spill it everywhere. This time, I spilled it inside my entire mask and all over me. It did not get on the table or this, but I just want to vent my frustration about that. Anyways, fun little blooper right there. Back to the drawing. I feel like I did a decent job with making the architecture in this one feel kind of airy and elegant, while I think the other one tends to look a bit more grounded, which I think is a decent contrast. Towards the end of it though, I felt like the top one was a little too visually light. Not in terms of color, I think because it's black and white, there isn't much color that needs to be there, but I think that it just didn't have enough weight to it. So I asked my art teacher and my friends like what they thought, and they all generally agreed with me. What I wanted to try to avoid was filling in the bottom with black and having it fade up, because I was really scared that that was not going to end up looking good, and it was just going to look messy, and I can't fix that because I always lose my whiteout. It's never where I need it to be, and my white pen tends to absorb colors that are around it before it like dries, and then you can't really go back over it because it's like a gel pen, I think. So that was what I was doing. Also, little bit of a side tangent. I know this one is longer. It is the last part. I finished the project. You will see how that turns out at the end, or I guess you can just skip forward because who cares, you know? I'm posting my things here to kind of just have a place to show them off to people for random strangers, which is why I don't have social media. Anyway, so back to the drawing. So I'm working on the lamps that lead up to the castle now, and we're finally on to the Black Castle, as I'm going to call it, or the other side, because this one, as you will see, and as you saw if you watched the other videos, the other parts of this series, it is going to basically be black. I do go back through at the end and I add some white to it to kind of lighten up some areas, but I don't know if it looks better with it. I don't think it necessarily does. So it will kind of just be there. Anyway, I'm recording this really quickly. I'm recording this before my mother gets home, and I think she's almost home, so I might have to cut it here, and then it won't be any amount of time for you, but it'll be a couple hours for me. So my voice will probably be a little bit different, just so you have a little bit of a clue. Okay, so yes, I was correct. I am back, and it has been a few hours. As you can see, I am working on just getting all the outlines done for everything around the Black Castle, and I'm just working on the path right now, and then I move up to the castle because I feel at this point like I can make the spires a little bit taller. I'm also adding details to the lamps, because that's what those two spires at the front are supposed to be, is they're supposed to be like big lamps to kind of mark out the city thing. In any case, then I start working on the vines in the background, and I was nervous about this because I wanted to add some depth by having smaller ones in the back and then obviously getting larger more towards the front. But because I had felt that the castle in the sky, the one that's currently facing you, is a little too visually light and needed more weight, I wasn't sure what to do because I didn't want it to seem uneven, and I was planning on kind of filling in the bottom with a black gradient up, but if I did that on the other one as well, then you guys wouldn't be able to see the vines, just anyone wouldn't really. And that's what I was nervous for, because when I try with the white pen, as I mentioned before, it tends to pull up color. So if I had done the gradient behind the Black Castle, and then I tried to color over all the vines with white to show where they were, they wouldn't show up. It would just turn gray and muddy and gross. So you'll see how that goes. Right now I'm adding shading to the clouds because I felt like they needed a bit more. They felt a little empty. I don't know necessarily how good this looks. I think it adds something to it, but I don't know if it necessarily makes it 100% better. Enough where it's worth putting it there. I think it does towards the end. I think it looks better because I add some more, so it's not just around the edges. I think here I'm filling in the vines so that they're like lining them and filling them in, adding depth to them, or maybe I'm just lining them right now. I know I filled them in lighter, which honestly I think they kind of look kind of good. I think they turned out well. I like how I did it, even though I was really nervous for it because I don't do well with doing a lot of curved lines one after another, especially on how small that was. With this little schedule thing that I have, which we got new ones actually, by the way, so this is an old one, I'm just testing out if I want to add texture to the pillars, because they look in the smaller one that's next to the big one, they don't look good. There's texture, but there's not enough where it's visually interesting. But the brick texture I was going to work on did not look good at all. So I'm just doing lines and then adding more depth by just thickening where it's supposed to be darker. It's interesting to try to do black and add depth with a pen, and then also add texture, like shaping it. So that was an interesting experience. Also, I have no idea how, when the background is white and it's only in black and white, how to make something look like it's glowing. So, if any of you guys have tips on that, please let me know, because I really like pen drawings and I'd like to continue, but I don't know what to do for that. And a lot of the things I like to do with pens, or just in general in terms of art, I like to add glowing elements, because I always think that looks cool. If you watched some of my previous videos on this, you'll notice that I am not going to fill in the doorway with black like I did with the smaller ones. I decided against it because I felt like it would just be too much, because it fades down from basically black with the spires in the back, and then it's really dark all around, and you just need something there. And then the sides are also dark, and the vines are dark, and it would just be too much. I even added shading to the path, so it would feel a little bit more connected. And honestly, I like how it turned out. I couldn't figure out where to put it, like which side should go up or down. I kind of like having the base be the one that's on the ground. But I couldn't decide at the time when I signed it, so I just put my signature on both sides, which I think is cool, because then you can kind of flip it around for whatever mood you're in. Yeah, so here I'm filling in the vines. I don't think that it looks the worst. I kind of wish I hadn't drawn the line of where the land curves straight through the vines, but I don't think it looks particularly bad because I think I'm able to hide it pretty well. There's some vines that I think look better than others, because a lot of them, I didn't want to make it look super jumbled, so I didn't put a ton of them. Also, some of them are supposed to be kind of coming towards the camera, and I'm not good at perspective if you've seen my final project. So here I'm just filling in with pencil where the lines are I'm going to use to shade the ground. I decided to do this with pencil first because I wanted to do directional lines, and I was so scared that I was going to make it look awful. It took me so long to decide to fill in the ground. I was so nervous, but honestly, I don't think it looks the worst. I wanted to do directional lines because straight lines are kind of what I used on the castle, and then curved lines are what I used on the vines, and I feel like the contrast is better. Anyway, I waved goodbye, so see ya!